Intro at 68 years young, country music icon Dwight Yoakam has finally broken his silence. And what he just revealed is sending shockwaves through Nashville and beyond. For decades, fans and critics alike have whispered, speculated, and wondered about the man behind the rhinestone suits and signature twang. Was there truth behind the rumors that followed him throughout his rise to fame? Well, wonder no more, because Dwight just confirmed what many long suspected, and it changes everything. So buckle up, because this isn't just another story about guitars and Cadillacs. This is the real Dwight Yoakam, unfiltered and finally ready to speak. Path to stardom before Dwight Yoakam became a household name in country music. His path to stardom was marked by raw determination, countless rejections, and late nights in smoky barrooms. Back in the late 1970s and early 1980s, he had begun playing small venues throughout Southern California, a place not known then for embracing the twang of traditional country music. Still, Dwight's brand of hillbilly honky-tonk stood in sharp contrast to the polished, pop-oriented country that was dominating Nashville at the time. He refused to get wrapped up in the urban cowboy trend of the era, choosing instead to lean into the gritty sounds of Bakersfield and rockabilly influences. This commitment to authenticity meant that finding gigs was tough at first, but it was also what set him apart from the crowd. Yoakam's shows were raw and unflinching. He would play 5 sets a night in bars where fights broke out, and beer bottles might sail through the air at any time. In spite of the seedy surroundings, he took every performance as an opportunity to hone his art. Lacking mainstream cash and outside of label support, Dwight had to rely on word-of-mouth support, converting crowds one song at a time. These early years, scarred by adversity and uncertainty, served to forge the fire and edge that would eventually characterize his distinctive sound and live performances. Interestingly enough, Dwight's first forays to penetrate the Nashville market were met with indifference. He went to Music City in 1976 only to find the business had its priorities focused more on songwriters and polished studio acts, and was less interested in live acts. He then knew that Nashville back then had more to do with publishing than with personality, and his rough-around-the-edges, high-energy stage act was not part of their model. Rather than conform, Dwight made the bold move to break from the outside in and show that innovation was achievable in tradition. These early struggles laid the groundwork for what would be a seismic revolution for country music. By being true to his heritage and embracing the gritty environment which welcomed his music, Dwight Yoakam created a loyal base long before he ever found himself chart-topping. His life in the trenches gave him both seasoning and legitimacy, something that can't be faked in a studio. When he finally came out with Guitars, Cadillacs, it wasn't a hit song. It was the battle cry of a man who had worked his way up and never compromised on his ideals. After years of rejection, Yoakam's breakthrough wasn't just a debut. It was proof that staying true to his roots could change country music forever. Breakthrough with Guitars, Cadillacs, Dwight Yoakam's 1986 debut album, Guitars, Cadillacs, etc., was more than just a strong first release. It was a shot of adrenaline straight into the heart of country music. At a time when the genre was drifting toward pop-driven production, Yoakam's record brought it back to its raw, rootsy essence. Produced by longtime collaborator Pete Anderson, the album embraced the Bakersfield sound, a California-born branch of country known for its twangy guitars, sharp edge, and honky-tonk heartbeat. From the very first notes, it was clear Yoakam wasn't chasing trends. He was creating a new lane grounded in tradition, but delivered with a rock and roll spirit. The lead single off the album, a cover of Johnny Horton's Honky Tonk Man, rapidly climbed the charts and brought Yoakam's distinct style to a national stage. However, it was the title track, Guitars, Cadillacs, its catchy guitar riffs, lonesome lyrics, and swaggering confidence made the song the career-defining anthem for Yoakam. Success on the country charts and in surprising urban markets proved that Dwight was onto something larger, a growing hunger for authenticity in a genre many believed had lost its edge. Guitars, Cadillacs, etc., actually took down the house on the charts as much with audiences as with critics. The album went on to win double platinum status, with Yoakam being hailed as having redefined cool and credibility into country music. Other artists are then set apart from him by a synthesis of die-hard songwriting and showmanship and a respect for the heroes of the genre. Dwight didn't just do country. He lived it and reminded everybody what it sounded like without gimmicks. His vintage persona and rebellious attitude made him both revivalist and revolutionary. Guitars, Cadillacs became the official launching pad for Dwight Yoakam as a force in country music and instantly changed the course of his career. He no longer played dive bars and rock clubs in Los Angeles, but sold out venues around the country. More importantly, he proved to the industry and to Nashville that there was still room for risk-takers with delusions of grandeur. Pioneer that this new idea was the launch pad for a career extending over the decades and influencing hundreds of artists to settle into a permanent spot in the history of country music. Beck and the Unexpected Evolution. Beck and the Unexpected Evolution, Dwight Yoakam's collaboration with alternative rock icon Beck, marked a surprising and transformative chapter in his career. Known for blending genres and defying convention, Beck brought a fresh, experimental approach to Yoakam's traditionalist roots. Their creative partnership began during the production of Yoakam's 2012 album 3 Pairs, where Beck co-produced 2 tracks. This unlikely pairing bridged generational and stylistic gaps, proving that country music could evolve without losing its soul. Beck's influence encouraged Yoakam to embrace a more freewheeling studio process, blending raw honesty with sonic innovation. One of the pivotal moments in their collaboration had to do with the recording of A Heart Like Mine. Yoakam had laid down a scratch track with electric guitar, an instrument he typically didn't take the lead on, and Beck insisted he keep the take. This moment symbolized a shift in Yoakam's creative mindset, off perfectionism and into authenticity, capturing emotional immediacy that defined his early work. Under Beck's guidance, Yoakam had found his way back to the artistic license he'd enjoyed as a teenager playing live, adding a layer of vulnerability and excitement to his newer material. The collaboration also earned him a new audience, indie and alt-rock fans who wouldn't otherwise have heard his music. Surprisingly enough, Beck's experimental nature wove in quite adeptly with Yoakam's Bakersfield twang, creating a sound both classic and modern. Tracks like Take Hold of My Hand and Rock It All Away demonstrate the depth of this cross-pollination, where pedal steel guitars wrap themselves around layered vocal harmonies and creative rhythms. For Yoakam, collaboration had little to do with the latest trends, but all to do with challenging creative limits while remaining ultimately tethered to emotional truth. Aside from the music alone, the Beck collaboration served as part of a larger artistic shift for Yoakam. As much as anything, it reminded listeners and critics alike that he was far more than a country traditionalist, a genre-bending artist unwilling to play it safe. What they did together proved development does not necessarily equate to reinvention, but rather can mean peeling away the layers to get to something fundamental. Beck may have been an odd collaborator, but he revitalized Yoakam's taste for experimentation and embedded him as one of American music's boldest voices. Most of all, the Beck collaboration confirmed to Yoakam that creative development needs to emanate from personal honesty rather than commercial calculation. Rather than try to fit the bill of industry norms or radio popularity, he leaned toward the intuitive, emotive approach, leave things up to instinct and immediacy. This transition allowed him to be able to have more self-expression in the production and songwriting, reminding him that sometimes vulnerability and improvisation can often be more powerful than sheen. Looking back on those times, recording with Beck wasn't some sort of creative sidestep. It was a recapturing of artistic freedom that still echoes through his music today. From stage to screen, while Dwight Yoakam first rose to fame as a country music trailblazer, his talents were never limited to the stage alone. Early on in his career, Yoakam dabbled in acting through school plays and community theater, discovering a knack for holding an audience's attention. It was this early exposure to performing outside of music that triggered interest, which would send him off to Hollywood. Though his concentration remained with music during the peak of his recording success, Yoakam always had an interest in extending his storytelling through film and television. seeking roles that more poignantly expressed his artistic sensibilities. His first breakout performance as an actor came in 1996 when he played the abusive Doyle Hargraves in Billy Bob Thornton's critically acclaimed film Sling Blade.